Hello, everybody. This is the House Medium. I'm Adele Levine, your House Medium, and we have a Reader's Room episode. Why? Because so many of you wrote in, finally. I mean, not trying to call people out, but calling you out. I have so many new listeners, and you some of you actually wrote in your stories, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have like so many that I can like do an awesome little readers room." And what I love, I think the fact that it's a readers room episode, it's made people more comfortable to write in um because of many of you requested to be anonymous. So pretty much everyone, I'm not going to use their name. I'm just going to say, here's a story of a man named Brady. Wait, yes. Is it a man named Brady? Yes. Dun, 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 dun. I didn't watch the Brady Bunch. Feel sad for me, everyone. I couldn't watch it because it was on Saturdays. And I was raised an Adventist. You weren't allowed to watch TV Saturday morning. So, the whole wonderful 80s, 90s, um, those of you who, were kids in the 90s of getting up Saturday morning, getting your cereal, watching morning cartoons. I missed all of that. I was getting ready for church all day. Anyway, if you'd like to hear more about that and read more about that, you can read about that in my memoir, Seer the Origin Story. I talk all about it in here. What was it like to be raised in a cult? Pretty much. Seventh day Adventist is pretty much a cult. I hated it, and you can read about it here, Seer the Origin Story, a memoir. Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. All right, enough of that. We have some business to attend to. I have like some pretty cool things to talk about, and we need to get into it. So let's go into the Medium Brew Cafe. Now, I went to Disney because um, I have a close friend who works for Disney, so I am very fortunate to be able to go um, pretty often. And this time I decided to get this tiara. So you see this tiara, if you're watching on YouTube, and you might see a clip on my Instagram, this is my little tiara. Don't get it twisted, it's little, but I'm still a queen. That's right. Anyway, speaking of which, I wanted to wish everyone a belated happy Pride's Month. I never really kind of said something because I feel that I'm always talking about this stuff, but I definitely felt like I should have acknowledged it in more an official way. But I want to say happy Pride from the other side. Here's why. In the other realm, there is no physical body, obviously. And before pronouns came out, I kind of was using that. I used to tell people when people asked about love, questions and readings, I would say to people, well, what energy are they? Because I see a masculine energy predominantly or predominantly a feminine energy because we all have both. And I always thought it was weird when we would talk about people's pronouns like that identifies the person. And this is one of those things that's just an intuitive thing that I always felt and kind of always had a sense that it seemed very limiting to how people are. And so I've always seen people as energy. And so on the other side, the reason why I say happy pride from the other side is because the other side recognizes energy in each other and not the physical self, not the gender. So it's very focused on having a knowing of who people are without having to put like a long explanation because there's like a spirit to spirit feeling. So that's what I love about learning from the other realm. They teach this. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Second of all, um, for those of you who are new, and I have a lot of new listeners, I have a Patreon, and in my Patreon, There's two tiers. There's a sacred scholar tier. There's a seeker tier. And in the secret tier, you get everything that I do. I do daily energy climates. I do a monthly energy climate. What is energy climate? That's where I sense and feel what the energy is going to be like for the day and how you can. Oh, but by the way, I just wanted to say, look at my tier. Forgot to tell you. See that? Yes. Anyway, so you feel what the energy is going to be. I feel what the energy is going to be like today for the day, and kind of help you know how to navigate it. And it also is fun to see if you sensed it. That's what people tend to tell me, if you sensed it. And speaking of, as I'm like going on, this is also my new Winnie the Pooh mug. I was never a big Winnie the Pooh person, um, because I was raised with realism parents and not fantasy parents, unfortunately. However, I do love the energy of Winnie the Pooh. And when I saw this mug, it says "Good morning, sunshine" on the back. Oh, so nice. Taking a sip of coffee, but this is, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. I did used to like to read the books and things like this, but anyway, I saw this at Disney, and I don't know, it just called to me. So I thought I'd share it here in the Medium Brew Cafe. But for those of you who are interested in my Patreon, I also post speed readings every month. And what that is I do a little reading on you to give you a heads up of what I see this month is going to be happening, because I believe the future is something that is shifting according to decisions you make. It's not like a prediction of this is what's going to happen to you. It's like this is the energy around you. This is what I see you're going through presently, and give you a little tip of how to handle things that are going on. It's just like a little speed reading, little tap in for you. And I've posted for the month of July is up. I'm also posting the meditation and the class this week for the Sacred Scholar people. So look out to that. But I also posted energy climate for the month for the seeker and the sacred for everyone. Okay. So there's that. Also, I wanted to tell everyone I was watching the Golden Age. Has anybody watched the Golden Age? It's that time where women were oppressed and they had to marry men in order to be valuable. Kind of like what we're trying to happen today. But, it's in England, and we like the whole like fashion and all that type of stuff. We always like to glorify the past as being like amazing when we all know it wasn't. However, I do like the show. It's very good because it is focused on the women and the women in power and things like this. And oddly has the same actress who plays Miranda from Sex and the City in this. I mean, it's kind of fitting. She definitely looks the part. But I was watching it, and all of a sudden, and I just had this, like, this is when being psychic kind of comes in handy. I was sitting there going like, oh man, this was the age of like where mediums. If you hear any voices, it's summer. Kids are home. I don't have more than one, but friends and kid are home. Um, but I was sitting there going like, oh, this is the age of when they had like seance rooms, and they would, tip tables, and mediums were like kind of all the rage at the time, because they were like really big into kind of trying to find the secrets of the other side and all that kind of stuff. And as I'm thinking that, one of the character, it is the Miranda one, one of like someone died, and she's like mourning it, and this lady says to her, she's like, I just wish I could have one more conversation, one last conversation with him. And she said, what would you want, one more conversation? And she says, yes. She goes, I can arrange that. It was one of her servants. And she's like, how is it possible? I'm like, and I'm screaming to the TV, no, they're going to bring a medium in. What? Into like, you have never seen this on Bridgerton or anything, but it was very prevalent in the time. This was like a time where they were very obsessed, and it's kind of why I call myself a seer. That's why my book is called Seer: The Origin Story, because it is based, even the cover of the book has that old world look to it, because even the background right here, as you see, has the old world look to it, black and gold. That's kind of my thing. Brown and gold, kind of my thing. And I was like, are you serious? And then, of course, I think everyone is stealing from me. I'm like, you stole from me, Golden Age. But they didn't. So check that out if you haven't watched the show. It's a good show, but I thought that was fun. So I will report next week when that episode airs. Um, and then I wanted to do a little bit of news.
23 Skidoo, 24, and Aunt Betty says.
One more time for my Aunt Betty.
23 Skidoo, 24, and Aunt Betty says.
And those of you who are new, I do a little segment of things that Aunt Betty says. This is my Aunt Betty. She's 93 years old. She was my father who raised me. And if you haven't read the book, read it. It is my memoir. My mom died when I was 10 days old. My aunt, uncle raised me. This book, I've been through everything. Call it the Disney story. And this is his sister. Well, she's turning 93, and her granddaughter contacted me and said, I really want to surprise Aunt Betty. I want to gift you, flying you out here, gift her for the day. Like literally, I'm not even spending the night, for the day, because she doesn't live too far. It's like a short flight from where I am. And I was like, yes, of course. It has been over 20 years since I seen my Aunt Betty, and I'm going to go see her and I will report back. I'm going to record stuff with her saying it. I will not show her face. She doesn't really like that idea. You know, the internet, everything like freaks her out, and who blames her, right? So I cannot wait to share this with you. I cannot wait to share this with you. And I can't wait to see the look. I think she's going to like freak out. She's probably going to wonder how this was possible. I mean, you have to realize my Aunt Betty has not embraced technology at all. She sells a landline and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that you can fly like quickly, like even in her time, getting a flight took forever. So meaning like, a last minute flight, so to speak. But anyway, I'm so excited about that. And lastly, I am going on a little trip for the summer. It's a short little, like, I want to say it's not a staycation because it's in the state of California, but California is so big, you could drive 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, and you're still in California. But it is kind of like it isn't. Oh, I didn't I didn't wear my Madame Leota earrings. Oh well, I will wear them next time. And look for that on my Instagram. Anyway, so I was looking up hotels. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to, it's an expensive time we're going, but I was like, we're going. And I was really excited. And then all of a sudden, I get drawn to this one hotel. It's really weird looking. I was like, there's a lot of weird stuff about this. I have a weird vibe. It's kind of like got a trippy vibe to it. And I been like every time I would find a hotel, I researched the hell out of it. Not just Amazon, not just Yelp, not just Google reviews, but like I do my own research. And sure enough, I type it in, and guess what it says? The most haunted hotel in California. Not just LA, in California. One of the most haunted in California. And I went, hell to the no. I am on a break. I am not working. This is going to be my little break from everything. I'm not going to be bothered because here's the thing. If I stay in a place like this, it's not so much that I'm scared. It's so much I'm going to be aware of it, that it's not restful. And they get excited and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're going to talk to us, right?" No. And I don't need my family dealing with it. I put a lot of protective warding in my home, and there's no warding in places like that because obviously they like that, they're known for that, and that's part of their business making model. So I was like, never mind. And anyway, it looked a little weird anyway. And I kept getting this like weird vibe. And I thought, well, maybe we'll just go quirky instead of like, no. So I thought that was funny and fitting. Um, Want to tell everybody know who's been asking. Yes, you can book a reading. I know this intro is a little long, but I wanted to do a little bit longer because it's a lot going on and I've had a lot like happen. So if you don't like it, you can always skip it, right? And get to the stories if you want. But I want to let people know who wanted to book a reading. I've had a lot of inquiries and I've had a lot of bookings. So for those of you who've known me a while, you may need to have a heads up that I'm booked to the end of August, but I still have openings in August. So you can check out some openings in August. I'm even going to be reading on my birthday. I kind of chose that. I'm good with that. I'm okay with that because I'm going to be doing other things for my birthday. The day of, it's fine. When you have a kid and you have a kid in school, you know, maybe when I don't have that type of thing, it'll be different. But anyway, so I have some openings, but I wanted to let everybody know when you book, you don't have to be worried about letting me know an intuitive or medium. You can decide on the spot. On my website, I have a video that explains about how to book. I have as many questions to answer. A number will be sent if you book a phone reading. A Zoom link will be sent if you book a Zoom, and you'll get a reminder, and I remind you the day of your. So please make sure to check your spam if you didn't receive something like this, because I go through a lot of links to make sure you did. Okay. Thank you all so much. Let's get to our stories in the reader's room. And since we're speaking about reader's room, don't forget my memoir. My memoir is what I've been told, and the reviews have come back to me to say this was a page turner. I couldn't put it down, and it is my real life. And some people felt bad about saying this because they're like, "Oh, you had to live all this. I feel so bad." I go, "Don't feel bad. It's a compliment. If you told my worst fear is that you told me you could tell me it's boring." And people have said, "No, no, no, I feel so bad because it's so enthralling." I have everything in there. Failed relationships. I almost joined a cult. Real life Craft, the movie story, and it happened to me before, way long before the Craft movie came out. I mean, I have everything in there, how my gifts develop. So please, if you got this book, please leave a review and let me know, because it makes me feel happy. Believe it or not, I really feel happy when people give me a heads up. All right, let's get out of here. You're like, all right, all right, all right. Um, oh, I just turned it. I forgot to open the door. Bye, everyone. I control. I am God. Okay. So we are going to get into our first reader's room episode. Orb in my room. Okay. We always love these because those are fun. Now, she was scared. I'm allowed to say it's she, but she was scared. Hi, Adela. I had an experience with a large, loud orb in 2009 or 2010. I'd be grateful for your benefit of your opinion. I was meditating in my dorm after taking a weekly yoga class, which was my routine. I had gotten so tuned in and absorbed into the moment that I would just let my body rotate clockwise or counterclockwise or rock back and forth on its own as I sat cross legged on my bed. But one evening, I was interrupted by a loud pop. Okay, here we go. Whoa, that was loud. A light bulb blowing out, or a loud clap. I opened my eyes in shock, and right above my left lap was a large, translucent white orb that cracked into the existence. It was larger than a basketball, smaller than a beach ball. There was more opaque white dot in the center. Think of the seed head stage of a dandelion's life. It was gone as quickly as it appeared. There was no electricity or light source where I was sitting. After that, I stopped meditating for years for fear of it happening again. It didn't feel malevolent. Why? I sometimes have a hard time pronouncing words. But it was just so shocking and new. Do you see what or who this is? Malevolent? I know this word, but this is unfortunately what happens in menopause. Just saying, ladies. Malevolent. Okay. Warm and fuzzy regards. I'm not sure she's okay, so I'm just gonna say D for for her name, not her last name. Here's the thing, young lady. Why did you stop? This is a positive thing. First of all, orbs like this is more real. I have you guys have heard me talk about that. There are boxes that I check that say to me, real, not real, legit, not legit. And this checks the box of legit. And here's why: because you were meditating and you were kind of in that space, you were kind of in that um, place where you're kind of floating in between the worlds, which is what we call that. And you were having an experience. And the only thing that happened is that you started to kind of let your spirit open up. And those type of orbs are not spirits. They're usually of a different kind, what I call higher beings, like teachers. And I get the feeling as they were like, you've been doing this, you seem to be able to maneuver this energy so well. So why don't we meet? Have a little cup of coffee, have a little cup of tea, have a little convo. And you just like bailed and ghosted them, unintended. They're not ghosts, they're not spirits. Those are when you see a white orb. I actually see orbs all the time, but they're not the kind people picture, meaning I see them, they come up in front of me all the time. I could just be sitting having a conversation with someone and I see it pop up behind them. I've seen them in readings, and they're usually what I call the teachers. They're kind of look as professors of that realm, and they're usually kind of letting me know, yeah, we like what you're saying. We like the help you're giving this person. This is really on the right track. And that's what they were telling you. This is the problem, everyone. This is for everyone, not for D, just D. I hear this all the time. Take a little sip of my coffee from my Winnie the Pooh mug. I hear this all the time, that people, they always say that they want these things to happen. Everybody says, oh, how come these things don't happen to me? I just think it would be really cool, blah, 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 blah. Then it happens, and everyone goes running for the hills. And then I hear, how come it's not happening anymore? This is why, because you shut it down. And the reason why paranormal and magical things don't happen to people as often as you guys say you want is because you're so afraid of it. That is it. That is why. Once you kind of get the fear involved, you shut everything down. And our world shuts that world down all the time because of the fear. Nothing to be afraid of. I know it's the unknown is scary, something you're not familiar with, but it sounded like a really beautiful moment, and you can get it back. You just have to let that round. You have to kind of do that meditation and do other things and kind of open yourself back up. Okay, now we're going to switch gears. Thank you for your story. And we're going to get into more of hooded figure. Hey, Adela, I'm not going to say again. Oh, I think she was on before, so I can. Julene, I had a recent thing happen that I thought might be good for the reader's room. It's pretty short. Oh, let me turn this down. It's a little loud. It's pretty short. A few weeks ago, around 5 a.m., I was laying in bed and kind of got woken up. I was facing the other side of the bed where my husband was getting up. I noticed there were two people. My husband had someone else. I was really confused and tried to focus on the other figure, and it seemed to be a gray hooded person wearing like a hoodie. I couldn't see a face, and it was just standing in the corner of our bed. It didn't seem to be looking at us. It was just facing the wall that our bed comes out from. That would be the north side of the room. It was very still, didn't move at all, and I was confused and a little nervous about it, so I hurriedly tried to fall back to sleep and ignore it. Can you tap in and see what that might be? Thanks so much. Yeah, really quick, I'm going to be able to tell this. It's really, you might, hopefully you're not too disappointed, but It's not really a being. It's not really anything. What happens, this is what we call shadow people, and people always describe them. And by the way, I have a story. I think I have another story of a hooded being person. It's very common that people see what they call the black cat people, the shadow people, and people always think that they are something. People have all these theories. Oh, they're aliens. Oh, they're this. Oh, they're that. What they are is that realm, the spirit realm, and they're shadowed because your sight is not able to be clear enough or strong enough to see them. So the reason why I know this is because when people see shadow people, I can see beyond what they're seeing, the hooded people. The other reason why I know this is because I had an experience long ago when I was first kind of in this path and I wanted to see the beings that I call those teachers and protectors and everything. And I asked to see them. Sorry, I'm messing with the music. It's being a little fussy. And I asked to see them, and they told me that I would be too terrified to see them. And I said no, and then I did, and I would see they kind of look like they're dressed in black, but for me, they weren't hooded. And the second time when I was ready for it and was able to handle it, my spirit was going to outside, this was astral projecting in my room. And I was walking around my apartment. I saw these two people dressed in black, but I could see them. And that was after 10 years of reading every day, all the time. And so I could actually see them. And I started to realize what people see as shadowed and hooded is your sight not being able to unmask spirits or other beings from that realm. I don't pick up on anything like this is a relative, because usually the hooded ones that you're not seeing is probably because they're not your people. So it's just not, your sight isn't developed to see them fully. And that is it. Okay. So I hope that, helped and wasn't too disappointing. All right. We're moving on. And since we're going to move on, I'm going to do another new song. Yeah, so it's very common. This is like shadow people, hooded people. The people get this all the time. People, you got to realize, and it's not an insult, but you have to understand that that realm sees us like children. You know how children just get scared of everything they don't understand? You could do that thumb, disappearing thumb trick, and they could freak out. And that's because they don't understand how you did it. So to them, you did some crazy thing and now your thumb has disappeared. That is how that realm is. They kind of see us like we don't understand how things work. So if they show up and they know you don't really have sight to be able to see them clearly, then they know this may kind of freak you out. All right. Moving on to the next. Hello, Adela. I discovered your podcast after hearing you on the Woo Woo podcast. Thank you. It's only been a week, but I'm really enjoying your podcast. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your gift with us. Oh, that's very, very sweet. Here's a true story. And I mean that. And I'm not trying to sound like, oh, that's very sweet. But I realized I went on in my intro. So I'm trying to give the people what they want, which is stories. Here's a true story that happened to me a few years ago. Feel free to share it in the reader's room, but please keep my name anonymous. Don't worry. I will. Here's my story. I live in Pacific Northwest. One night in either 2021 or 2022, I woke up during the middle of the night and I heard a loud boom. Ooh, a loud boom. Did that wake you guys up? Sound of the power surging and cutting out in the whole house. Our room was plunged into the extreme darkness due to the power outage, and there was zero ambient light. I rolled towards the door and then observed two black hooded figures. See, I told you there was another hooded story. Entering the bedroom. They were approximately 5 feet tall. Their movement was not a walk, but a glide across the floor, and they were mostly silent. There was a very slight sound, almost like a very quiet wind sound. They glided past the bed without looking into its direction. I started to get scared and also questioned, but this could be a different hooded. Could be different. Now, there is another type of hooded that this box may fit. I mean, this might check a different box, is what I'm saying. So let's see where this is going. I'm getting a little ready for something. Okay. So let's move on with her story. I was apprehensive about looking directly at them because I was afraid of discerning any facial features. I did not want to see what their faces look like. Why? We all want to know. We all want to know what their faces look like. At the time, we had about 4 houseplants in the bedroom. Their figures glided towards these plants and appeared to be inspecting them. Interesting. Particularly one specific plant that wasn't doing super great. Oh, so it was like, listen, I know the lights are out and we're hooded and you don't know what we look like and we're creeping you out, but damn, girl, you need to water these plants. We're judging you. It was a philodendron astrum. Okay, come on. I'm not a plant expert. Also known as silver sword philodendron. You guys are going to think I can't read. Philodendron. Philodendron. Okay. It's okay. Silver plant for us layman people. I perceived a connection between them and the plants, almost like they had kind of a natural plant energy or earth energy. They seemed to be otherworldly rather than interactive of spirits, ghosts, or human figures. Subsequently, one figure exited the room and 2 additional figures glided in. At this point, I became pretty freaked out. I quietly rolled away from them, pulled the covers over my eyes, and went to sleep. Interesting, each of the 4 figures possessed a distinct individual shape and height. I could tell each was a unique being. This event occurred only once. Also, the plants they checked on are all doing great and still alive. I'd love to know your thoughts on these beings and or what was happening. Thanks again and take care. Very truly yours. Okay. I wanted to just check. Like, she said the plants are still alive. So when did she say this happened? 2021. Okay, so it's not crazy, but since they weren't doing good at first. All right, listen. There's another type of hooded thing, and it's the way they moved, the gliding in and out, gliding around, small little beings. You know what I'm going to say? Alien. I feel like this was kind of more on the alien side. This definitely feels more like towards alien beings. And I feel that this is a direction it goes more, because even the plant thing, it's almost like it very fits what I have learned those beings are trying to do with us, which is teach us about care, health care, self-care, how to care for ourselves, how to take care of the planet. So it feels very fitting. I'd be curious to know if there was anything you were doing that day, doing that week, that might have kind of set them off to kind of make this visit. But my feeling is that this isn't the first time something happened to you. I feel like this might have happened to you also a few times when you were younger, but I definitely feel like this fits the boxes of alien. And I kind of feel like you kind of knew that, right? Sip of coffee. I feel like you were kind of hinting. But yeah, that's what I would say. If it spirits don't kind of interact like this, they're not looking at plants, they're not gliding around. Actually, they appear and try to hold the vibration and then disappear. But it's very, very interesting. I loved it. Okay. Okay, so here is another story, and this person again wants to be anonymous. So we're going to change the music again. Okay, here we go. Thank you for getting back to me because she had emailed me before. I don't have it because she had kind of a short experience and was kind of just so just so you know, if you're going to contact me on the podcast about things that you might have experienced in your life or different phenomenons you might have experienced, it's not really what the podcast is about because the podcast is more geared towards stories. It is what my readings are for, or doing mentor, or if you want to mentor with me. I have mentees, which some people contact me and I kind of see where their abilities are and we start mentoring. So that was what happened here when she says, "Thank you for getting back to me. I don't have paranormal, so to speak, but I do definitely have a story about signs and energy. I'll share because I think you might appreciate it. I definitely don't think expect you'd put it in your show. Maybe read it while you're having a cup of coffee." Well, this is what's happening. We are having a cup of coffee with Pooh Bear. I just put this on my headset. Hello. With Pooh Bear, we're having a cup of coffee. And we are going to read it on the show. So we're doing both here. Okay. I'll share because I think you might appreciate. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Summer 2021, my dad was here and we were talking about how I was so upset that the hummingbirds weren't coming back to my yard like years before. It was a casual conversation and we moved on to other topics. A few days ago later, he and my mom were here again. We had our first and only Christmas in July party at my house. Oh, that's cool. It was a Saturday. My family was having fun. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. My dad and I sat together for a while, and for some reason, he told me about the little excerpt he wrote for my nephew's graduation book. It's this thing where you pay almost an ad in the booklet and you can tell your graduate what you want them to hear. Yes, in yearbooks, right? Because that's what you do in yearbooks, right? If I'm wrong. He tells me this and then again we move on. I promise you I'm getting somewhere with this. Okay, no problem. We like this. We like storytelling. Monday, my parents stop over and spend some time with me and my son. My husband was at work. They left here and went to my sister's to visit them. They call it, quote, making their rounds. That makes sense. Later that evening, we were going to take our son to the drive-in to see a movie, and I noted a drive-in. Oh man, people still go to drive-ins. I mean, I know this. We're getting to the story, but I just love that. To see a movie, and I noticed a $20 bill on the table. Dad left it. So I sent him a text and said, "Thanks for the money. We're leaving now and we'll use it for snacks." Then my phone rings and it's their number. I pick up and say, "Hi, thanks for that." And I get a cut off by a man talking at me saying, ma'am. And I'm confused. And then as I come to my senses, I realize it's a paramedic informing me my father had a heart attack and they can't revive him. Needless to say, the rest of the night was horrific. I've been in therapy, so I'm okay to share this, and it's really a crazy story. I'll share because I think, oh wait, I already read that. Okay, here we go. Okay, hold on. I actually put, I copied and pasted this twice, so that's why I'm a little lost. Here's where it gets interesting. I arrive at the house and it's chaos and they won't let me in. But when I get there, they say he was just then getting a heartbeat back, but only when I showed up for a brief few moments. Then it stopped again. I'll spare you the details. As you can imagine, it was awful. However, to the next day, I go back. His car is missing and there are people everywhere, and these workers, they're right where my dad's car parked. The water main blew. My dad used to joke that when he died, he was going to leave us a big sign. That's the first thing. A few days later, I'm losing my shit. She didn't spell out shit, but I'll say it for her. Shit. Dealing with my mom and sister and basically taking over for everyone, and I run outside and scream. It starts to thunder. It's sunny, mind you. Dark clouds are showing up. As I'm standing there, I kid you not, a hummingbird flies up to me and around my head out to the front of me and look at me for a few moments, then flies away. I was stunned. I've never had that happen. I go into the house and tell my sister, and she tells me that Dad was telling her the afternoon before he died, he was going out the next day to buy me a hummingbird feeder because of our convo the week before. Same evening, my sister is upset because my dad never gave her the page he was going to write for her son's graduation book. She said she had asked our mom if she knew what Dad was going to write, and that she was so upset she had no idea either. My dad was a wonder writer and even a published author. I instantly recalled what my dad said he was going to write in the book. I mean, come on. How fortuitous. Let's just say prediction. No, how fortuitous. For Sorry everyone, I'm just really tired. I literally have been going. For you know what I'm saying. That, that we had the conversation in the middle of a party. After that, I never say this word, by the way. I just realized never. I'm a seer, I'm a psychic, a reader. Never have used this word. Okay. After that, I would talk out loud to him and ask for a sign. Almost always a light bulb would go out in my house. My husband and my son were amazed. Shocked, too. This happened on holidays and birthdays. Sometimes I would just say, Dad, give me a sign. And at some point that day or night, a bulb would go out. And I go to my parents' house, and his chair had a lamp next to it. A bulb would go out. This went on for years until last June when my mom died. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in March and died 77 days later. It was awful. We were going through this again so soon. I asked for a sign, but the light bulb stopped going out. I truly believe he was hanging around, waiting for her so when it was her time, he would be there to help her to the afterlife. I'll end with that last sign I received. It was a week or so after my mom passed. I was looking up in the clouds. Another thing my parents used to say to us is if we have questions, just look up. So I'm looking up and I see what I have interpreted clouds that first appear to be in the shape of an outline of my parents. Then the outline changes as if they are looking up. Then the image changes to look more like two angelic beings. They eventually faded. I had my phone, as we all do, and was able to take the pics. I love the photos and framed them. I don't know. Some say they can see the angels, and others tell me they don't see. I don't care. I think it was them saying goodbye for now. Since then, my light bulbs never go out, but the hummingbirds are back, and that's enough for me. Hope I didn't bore you with this, but I just feel like this is something worth sharing. Okay. Oh, and she says, I have always felt I've had ability to sense things and definitely have had some really interesting premonitions. I try to stay aware and be open-minded. I used to be weirded out by it all. I've learned to embrace it. Take care, and I wish you lots of luck. No one's ever said I wish you lots of luck before. It's really cool. Okay, so a couple of things. One, it's very common that that signs happen, and it's pretty good that I would say great that you got this hummingbird sign right away. And what happens is when people are giving signs, they're communicating, so they don't become the bird, they don't become the butterfly. They're on the same frequency as the animals. Because we don't seem to be really good at tuning into animals and hearing them and feeling them in the way that they feel each other, there is a frequency that realm tends to be operating on, and it's the same frequency that animals operate on. It's even the same frequency that babies can pick up on, and they can speak to each other. So what happens is that when he passed, he was able to send that frequency to the hummingbird, and the hummingbird came your way. It's very common for light bulbs to flicker or blow out. It's because their energy, they're a frequency, and so if they concentrate their energy and something electrical, they can like make it pop. Same with the water. It's very big part of how they can manipulate. That's again another energy source, water. And so it sounds like your father really wanted you to know what was going on. I mean, that he was aware of everything. Um, him saying that he was going to give you a big sign that he totally did. That's great. And you're tuning into it and you're connecting, which is super important that you aren't just like poo pooing it and saying, oh, maybe I'm just imagining it. You actually are picking up what he is sending you. As far as the light bulb stopping, it doesn't have to do with your mom. um, People don't need to wait around. That's not how it works. It's not really a thing. I know that's what people tell people, but that's because that's what we understand here. To go to someone's house, you have to go to their house and wait for them, wait outside, go inside. We have to travel to see each other. That's really not a thing there. What I feel like it happened and what happens very frequently to people is a couple things that I wanted to cover. That your mom passing was pretty devastating for you and probably opened up a lot of wounds and made it very painful because it had been so soon. So you kind of start to shut down a little bit more to that type of thing. And so the more that you're in pain and the more you shut down, then you just kind of aren't as open. When you're doing signs like give me a sign and then you wait for it to happen naturally, that's the best way to do signs. Not like, hey, this is a sign you have to do. I think people have to, not, this isn't for you. This isn't anything you're doing. I'm speaking to everyone out there. Remember when you're dealing with people who have passed, you can't demand things on them, certain things to do. You speak to people in the other realm just like you would here. If somebody said, hey, I want to make you happy and know that I'm thinking of you, you don't demand how they're going to do it. You don't demand when. And so with the spirit world, if you just do exactly what you're doing, saying, hey, I'm open, just send me a sign and I'll be open to it. Um, and you catch on what they're laying down, that's the best way because it's catching you by surprise. And so, what happened with the reason why things stopped had more to do with your pain and the things that you're going through. And it makes it harder for you to open up because when people die, it's instant. They just go to that realm. They don't have to go to the other side, they don't have to travel. They don't need someone to help them with getting here. So, I will say that what you experienced was awesome. And if you want those things to happen again, you can have them happen by just saying to your parents, hey, I'm open to signs. I want more signs. Please send them to me. And they will. And also open your heart. I know it's painful, but open your heart to connecting to them. um, but you have to meet the spirit world halfway. I just want to leave this with letting everyone know you have to meet the spirit world halfway. People always think it's up to them to visit, up to them to do this. It doesn't work like that. You have to receive what they are putting out because it's a meetup. It's not them doing the work, because I know everyone believes that when people die, they must know everything, and they don't. They're just people who died and they're learning a little bit about how that world works. But it sounds like you have an awesome connection and all you need to do is rekindle it a little bit further. As far as gifts and things like this go, people can have experiences and have certain experiences that happen, depends on how often it happens, but it is something that people don't realize, that when you have an ability that's raw and there, it isn't enough to just say, oh, I have that ability. If you want to, it really is up to you. If you want to hone it, and this is the main thing people got to understand, you have to hone it. People forget that I have this ability, but I have been practicing 5 days, 5 times a day, 4 to 5 times a day, reading after honing it. It's become my life's work and it's a way of living. It's not like you're just born with a gift and all these magical things happen. I know that's the fun part, but the other part is exercising and learning how to do these things. But anyway, it sounds like you had an awesome, wonderful, beautiful experience. And that is definitely on par to you connecting and having signs with your father who just kicked ass at it. And you can have the same thing with your mother if you open up to both of them once again. Thank you all so much for sharing your stories in the reader's room. Next week, we'll be back on track for another episode. I'm really looking into doing the Winchester family house because I think it'd be really interesting to do that. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Adele Levine, and on YouTube. You can watch this on YouTube if you want. Adele Levine. I'm on TikTok, Adele Levine. If you want to book a reading, it's adelelevine.com. Get in your readings if you want it this summer because the summer is like getting closed up fast. But of course, I'm reading every day all the time, so we're fine. If you want to check out classes and you want to support my work and you want to check out what the energy climate is and all that, you can go to my Patreon. Again, it's Adele Levine. It's $5 to join. Or if you want to get into the higher tier, which is just $10 actually, and you can get all of the classes I've posted and everything and the meditations and all of that. And also meet a really good group of people, which is kind of what I like about the Patreon is that people kind of connect with each other of like-mindedness. That is a wrap, everyone. Thank you all so much for supporting this, supporting my work, and also the feedback I get. I so appreciate it. Follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you soon.